Cool. Well, yeah, I guess a quick intro to who I am, and then I'll kind of whip around and have everybody else introduce themselves. So like she said, my name's Mel. I'm a mobile recruitment consultant here at Computer Futures. I also do account management. A lot of my focus is talking to iOS and Android folks over the past 2 years and building those relationships. And definitely helping people that are just getting started, as well as folks from, maybe more struggling backgrounds or things like that, something that's very important to me. So I'm always excited to be able to join these panels and help people get their start. So we'll kind of whip around. Akshata, if you would like to start off giving your introduction, you're just in my corner, so that's why I picked you first.
Hey, sure, Mel. So hello, everyone. My name is Akshata, and I'm an engineering manager and technology leader with 15 years of IT industry experience. From a technical perspective, I contribute to architecture, design, and development of web-based applications and infrastructure platforms. From a management perspective, I'm experienced in people management, stakeholder alignment, and roadmap strategy. In my current role as an engineering manager at Quorum, which is a Washington, D.C. based company, I direct a team of 8 full stack engineers and oversee the delivery of various product features in public surface space. So I collaborate with the product, our CTO, engineering and business development teams to achieve the company's objectives and overall growth. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for that intro. A very storied career, so we're excited to have you. Tessa, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Tessa Wiedmann. I'm a software engineer at Microsoft currently, where I've been for the past year and a half since I graduated from the University of Cincinnati back in 2019. I'm currently based out of Seattle, Washington, close to the Microsoft headquarters, and I do mostly web development now, mostly front end, but also some full stack in there as well. And I'm also very passionate about supporting all sorts of people in tech, especially women, and very excited to be here today. Yeah, if you ever want to reach me, you can, I see my LinkedIn is in the chat. Feel free to make a connection.
Perfect. Thank you. We're excited to have you as well. Nicole, I see you next on my screen. So if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, my name is Nicole Phillips, and I am a data analytics manager at Cloudflare. I am currently based in Austin, Texas. I have 20 plus years experience in the tech sector, and I've worked across several different domains from the healthcare industry, high tech, now cybersecurity, travel industry, and many more. I currently work from the perspective of allowing our end users to be able to make data-informed decisions based on their business use cases and solving business problems from them, and really helping to enable the business from a perspective of making data-informed decisions and actionable insights. Prior to Cloudflare, I also worked across consulting, engaging with external clients, building out strategies for them from the analytics perspective. And I am really looking forward to speaking with you all today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, those are everybody that's on the panel. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat and we'll have Q&A after and we can go through them. But to kind of kick off the questions, so first question, we'll start off, Akshata, if you want to be the first to answer this one. So first question is, with career opportunities, new ones, they can be either a shift internally versus, moving to a different company. What would kind of be the difference in preparing for external versus internal opportunity interviews or moves, in your opinion?
Yeah, so within the internal opportunity, I'm looking at the opportunity within the company which I'm working for. So it could be either a shift to a different project where you see yourself getting more growth opportunities, or just growing up the career ladder within the same team. So if it is such an internal opportunity, the best place to start is to have a conversation with your manager, where you kind of go and say that, hey, this is what I'm currently doing and what are the expectations for me to grow into the next position. Say, for example, I'm a SWE level 2 engineer. I want to go into the senior engineering role. So what are the expectations and what can I do for me to enable to get there? So these are the expectations. It's always a two-way relationship between yourself and your manager. So they have to set the expectations and you have to work towards meeting those expectations. And then on your next performance review, you can go back and say, hey, these were the expectations which were set for me for the last year or last 6 months, and I've achieved all of these. So do you think I qualify for that role change, title change, or a promotion? So that's the way you go about it. And in some situations, you'll be looking for something beyond the internal opportunity, where it's something like if you want to, if you're not challenged enough in your current role, and even whatever title or the current responsibilities is not challenging enough, and you want to look for opportunities beyond. So that is even more a little bit, it will need a lot of more preparation from your end, because you'll be evaluated on a lot of skill sets. So you will reach out to your peers or somebody outside your current network and find out like, hey, what are the current trends in technology? How can I prepare for the interviews, and go forward from there. So from interview perspective, there will be two parts. One is focusing on your soft skills, and the other one is focusing on your technical skills. So when you're focusing on your technical skills, it's very much whatever the new role you are applying for, it will be listed in the job profile, like what are the requirements, prerequisites, and all, and you start putting in hours, like preparing yourself. So some of the, at least within the current web development or a mobile stack development space, there are definitely, you would be required to do some coding algorithms. You need to do some sort of interviews which was respect to the entire system design. So that's at least on the technical side. And on the soft skills side, you'll be judged based on your character, your grit and determination, and whether what you're going to bring to the table, and whether more than the skill set, whether you have the determination to kind of excel in any role. So these kind of things is very essential for you to prepare either internal opportunity or an external opportunity.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. And Tessa, Nicole, do you have anything else to kind of add on, or your take on it? We can start with Nicole. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't cutting Tessa off. No, I ditto everything that Akshata said. And I also look at it from the perspective of truly understanding why you do want to go to that next level in your career. Like, what is your drive to be able to do that, and aligning what your current skills are. And as Akshata stated, really looking at doing the job first before you get there, so you're not intimidated once you get there. And that is aligning with whomever your direct manager is or your mentor is, and making sure you understand it's a two-way street when you're growing in your career, whether it's externally or internally, and not just putting the direction of your career on a person, but you're driving it and they're supporting you.
I definitely mirror that as well. Especially the part about like having that open communication with your manager. Like, it is something you should be talking about with your manager on a regular basis, of like where I'm at and where I want to be going and what are the steps I need to be taking to get there. Like, it was definitely intimidating for me at first to be talking about like, hey, I just joined as a university hire, like junior developer at Microsoft, but like I already want to be thinking about like what's the next step. But it's something that's expected, and your manager should be helping you through that process. So just knowing that that is an expected part, like going into one-on-ones, that's something I should be talking about, was something that was really helpful. And definitely, if your manager is not doing that, talk to some of your other peers and what they talk about in their one-on-ones, and or feel free to reach out to me or anyone else, and just like leveraging your community and your resources, and making sure that you are having those really important conversations.
Can I just add one more thing? Because I agree 100% with that, Tessa, that building a community, but also look at it as when you're growing in your career, not one person can't give you everything that you need for that growth. You're going to need different people for different things. So to echo what Tessa is saying, like if you have the opportunity to engage with people outside of your team, get feedback from them, ask them how they got to the point where they're at in their career. If it's outside of your organization, whether you're going to meetups or other networking opportunities, engage with those individuals to build community from that perspective as well. But not one person can give you everything. They're just your advocate.
Yes, I totally agree to Nicole here. So LinkedIn Professional Network is one such good place to start, where you can reach out to your like-minded professionals and get input from them as well. And again, like as Tessa mentioned, like having one-on-one conversations with your managers of utmost importance. I know it could be overwhelming for you at first to kind of talk about yourselves and your career aspirations, but again, you are the only person who is in charge of your career. So make the best of that opportunity.
And if they're a good manager, they're wanting you to grow. That's the responsibility of a leader, is growing your team.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I like all of these takes. These are all really good. I completely agree with you need to vouch for yourself and kind of get in the driver's seat for your career, because nobody else is going to do it. Because I 100%, that's kind of all the advice I've heard growing up too. Next question. So it can be tricky. I mean, this kind of, we touched on this. It can be tricky to showcase and discuss kind of your skills and talk about those things in interviews, and figure out, even like when they ask a question, like, where do I even start to explain or answer this? So what are some everyday actions that you can take to prepare yourself to have those conversations in a more natural way? We can start with Tessa on this one.
Yeah, definitely very overwhelming to think about, like, how do I like define what I do and what my skills are, and is not something that comes easily to me. But is, like you were just saying, it's easier if you do it day to day. So something that I do is I have a OneNote notebook that I keep for my daily tasks, and I kind of break my OneNote into different sections based on like my performance review cycles. So at Microsoft, we're supposed to do 2 performance reviews per year, and at least. And so I have a section dedicated to every review cycle, I guess. And then I have pages within those sections for all of the different tasks that I'm doing. So those pages are really good places for me to put like notes for myself on the things that I'm doing, and like, oh, there's this wiki page over here and this documentation and this code lives here. And like, it's a place for me to keep notes for myself. But then at the end of like a performance cycle, I also have this high level view of like all of the different things that I've done if I just like scroll through my different pages. So it's a day-to-day thing that I do that I find really helpful to get like kind of a summary of what I've done. And then the other important piece of that is like when I am doing my performance reviews, or I'm updating my resume, or anything along those lines, is not only what did I do, but what impact did it have? And that's what takes a little bit more time at the end of any of those reviews, is actually sitting down like, okay, I did this, but it also improved performance of our web app by this much %, or these many customers were asking for this feature and now we have it. Those sorts of things I think are really important, and it's definitely easier if you do it, if you document things day by day, so you're not just sitting there trying to prep for an interview or updating your resume thinking, what did I do? If you break it down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that exactly can be very overwhelming. I think if you don't do that day to day too, you can almost feel unqualified for jobs that you're trying to apply to. If you're waiting until the last second, you're like, oh, I haven't done any of the stuff they're asking me to do, but you really have. You just don't realize it. Nicole, do you want to add on to that?
I would just say translating, I support everything Tessa says, because I definitely tell my team, anytime from an analytics perspective, anytime you push out analysis, don't just say, oh, I developed this dashboard and it did A. You did this analysis that addressed this use case, and then quantify whatever impact it was to the business. If it wasn't impactful to the business, you could have done something that could have improved a process on your team, which goes to show your organizational and project management skills. But whatever it is that you do, make sure that you show the impact to the business. Did it reduce time from people having to have meetings if you help to build out an agile framework for your team? So continue to quantify everything that you do, and think from a strategic perspective and not a tactical perspective, and that will help you go a long way. Another thing I want to add to that is when you are preparing for an interview, you definitely need to look for something that you haven't done, because if you've done everything, that's not the job for you, because then you're not growing in that opportunity. So don't look at it like you have to have every single skill. It's a 80-20, 80% of what you know, 20% of where you can grow.
Yeah, to add on to that, I totally agree with Nicole's assessment, where she's saying that whenever you apply for a new job, you always make sure there is some growth opportunity for you in the next job, because that's where you want to learn and you want to build on your skill set. So like from my personal experience, like the previous company I was working for, my tech stack was completely related to Java and some of the older framework. And I joined Quorum back in November 2020, and the tech stack was completely different. So it was all related to Python, Django, and all the newer frameworks, which I was not at all exposed to. So this was the challenge which I felt, okay, so this is where I need to kind of step up, because this is totally out of my comfort zone. But this is, again, very, very interesting and a growth opportunity for me to learn all these new cool technologies. So that's the mindset I had when I signed the dotted line. So that's very essential. So always look for something where you can grow and build on to your skill sets.
Absolutely. Okay, so this next question will be about, for those folks that are coming from a field that is not very technically oriented. I think this is something that a lot of people I know in my life ask about, and I think it's probably you the same if you're in IT, is kind of how do you use those soft skills and leadership that you've done outside of tech to really leverage yourself towards getting into the tech industry or your current goals. And Nicole, if you want to start us off on this one.
The first thing is, don't get intimidated by the fact that it's the tech sector, because any type of transition to any sector is going to need some work. So I don't care if you are working as a cashier at HEB, or if you worked in sales and now you want to transition into tech. The way I look at it, like to sell yourself, if you're a cashier at HEB and you're dealing with a difficult customer, that shows that you have good conflict resolution skills. If you have to build out the schedule for all of your colleagues and it's holiday peak time and everybody wants time off, that goes to show that you have good organization skills. If it is a situation where you are transitioning, if you've done some of the work, but like so I'll give an example. From the analytics perspective, some people may have done some analysis in like maybe Google or Excel, but they haven't done it to the extent that we need from the big data perspective. So go take some classes on Coursera, go to a boot camp to revamp your skills in order to transition, to prepare for the technical side, but also sell what you have done in your current job. Don't feel as if because you're going into this sector, you need this superhero cap and then everything changes. If you're a leader, you're a leader. If you have to learn, you have to learn. That is the core thing. Do not be intimidated just based on that, because I think that's where the disconnect is for a lot of people.
Awesome. Akshata, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Sure, Mel. Sorry, I got distracted by one of the questions here, which I'll respond in a minute. So, yeah. So this was with respect to the
yeah, using your maybe not considered non-technical soft skills.
Yeah. So to add on to what Nicole mentioned, I kind of agree with her assessment. Like you have to revamp yourself. You have to invest in yourself. Like some of the things that she suggested was to take some courses on Coursera, try to learn new tools on your own, or there are several bootcamp facilities which are available, because I personally have come across people who were kind of did not have a regular technical degree from a reputed university. Rather, they were from a non-technical background, but they went ahead and they did some boot camps to learn all the related tech stacks which are currently in trend. Say, for example, there's React and Angular and a lot of other frameworks. And in my company, Quorum, so we had opened up apprentices programs just to allow people the opportunity, give opportunities to people who do not have a traditional technical background, opportunities for them to grow and excel. So with this regard, we introduced the apprentice program, and we had a lot of overwhelming respondents, and then we were able to, based on whatever they have learned and the skill set they proposed, we were able to hire and go forward with them. So it's good that we have such programs in place just to make sure that we have good inclusion and diversity within the workplace, and we are encouraging people from diverse backgrounds and diverse technical skills to come forward and apply.
Absolutely. Tess, did you have anything?
Yeah, so I did a computer science degree at the University of Cincinnati, but I'd always felt a little bit different from a lot of my peers. So I was like kind of half answering your question, but a lot of my peers, like they've just like live, breathe technical computer science, like building websites, robots, computers, like on their free time, like they love doing that. And that has never been me. And that's something that I've always kind of struggled with and still do, of like, I was really involved in like student groups and leadership and like things like that, and was not spending my free time like learning the newest technologies. And I do that now now that I'm working full time, but I'm doing that as part of my job. Like I build that learning into it, and I'm very fortunate that my manager supports that, and like we've had that conversation together. But through my I work in the education org at Microsoft, and so I get a lot of face time with our customers, with our students and our teachers. I help out with our customer engagement team. Like it's part of my official job as an engineer is helping out the customer engagement team. And that's not something a lot of other engineers on my team do, but it's something that has always been important to me, like having that people aspect and collaborating with our designers and our PMs, even as an engineer. So I've kind of found a way to bring some of my strengths and my soft skills into my engineering work. And that came from many conversations with my manager and other people in my org and things like that. But definitely took some time for me to get there and still have a long way to go. But kind of first thinking about what do I really enjoy doing and how can I bring that into my work was something that I've valued.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think kind of a similar note on that is a lot of what I've heard of people that do come from the non-technical backgrounds is kind of that imposter syndrome type of feeling of, you know, you just don't belong, or like you're not exactly like your peers, or we're going to have less opportunities. And I think Nicole hit it on the head where it's like, you know, maybe there are some teams that, or managers that, you know, hold that kind of view of people that don't come from those backgrounds, but maybe that's not necessarily the type of team you want to be on anyways, is what I would probably say to those folks.
Yeah,
for sure. So.
I am a firm believer and this is for hiring managers, if you're in a position to give someone the opportunity that doesn't come from that traditional background, look at it from the perspective of college is not for everyone, and we have to be realistic about that. Not everyone can afford college or wants to pay back a whole bunch of student loan debt in order to be able to attend college. So naturally, yes, you want someone that has the fundamental skills, but you also want someone that is coachable. And we have to stop looking at the traditional pedigree on what college did you graduate from and so on, and really look at what value add is this person to my team? What different aspect does this person bring to my team? And always remember that someone gave you an opportunity. So don't turn your nose up and disregard someone because they didn't come from the traditional background that you feel as if they should come from.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Okay, the next question, Akshata, this will be directed at you. For, you know, with mentors, with, you know, managers or outside mentors, can a lot of times they can provide that access to opportunities and kind of guide the way to those things. Can you talk about a time when your manager or mentor prepared you for that next step in your career?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, like I said, like I got into this new position just in last November. So for me, coming out of my prior job, which I have been part of for almost close to 5 years, that decision itself was really overwhelming at first, and I did not know what to do and how to even prepare. So the first thing I did was to reach out to some of my ex-colleagues who had kind of already left the team and they had joined elsewhere. So I just gave them a call, just ask them, like I was in touch with all of my previous mentors or like my previous managers who were with me for a long time. So I just casually called them up and said that, hey, this is what is happening in my current company and I want to make a switch, and how do you kind of help me out with that? So, and I got the best advice from one of my prior managers who was also kind of my mentor, and she kindly gave me the exact goods to kind of study. So like I said, like with respect to the interviews, it was I had to prep myself up on all the algorithms and the coding rounds. And with respect to the soft skills, also she gave me good enough of inputs. And then there was, just because based on my previous role as an architect, I would definitely be evaluated from a design perspective, designing a system perspective. So she also gave me avenues on what kind of design questions to prepare and things like that. So that was definitely helpful. And not only that, like I even on the LinkedIn professional, like on that networking site, I found it really useful because that's a really good place to market yourself, because you might not be aware, but there are certain settings within the LinkedIn professional which you kind of helps the recruiters to kind of directly reach out to you. So that was another useful thing that I found during my interview prep, because when I turned the setting on that I'm open for roles, I used to start getting in a good volume of calls on a daily basis. So that kind of really helped a lot. So again, if you are looking for a change in your career, so definitely reach out to your ex-colleagues or previous managers, mentors, build your professional network on LinkedIn and go forward from there. And this will be in addition to applying for the jobs on most of the job sites.
Yeah, that's a lot of great advice. I completely agree. And I can also second the fact that if you do turn on that you're open to work, we will find you and we will message you.
A fair warning, you don't show that you are open to work for your current employer. It's only visible to the headhunters. So no worries, just turn it on if you need to.
Yeah, good to know. Tessa, I guess, would you like to add about a story maybe when somebody helped you out?
Yeah, so I'm actually trying to get to the next level right now, to the software engineer 2 level. And actually just recently got a new manager. So we've had a lot of discussions just in general about like management style and like what my career goals are and things like that. And then also those discussions on like, what will it take to get to the next level? And one of those things was I haven't had like one bigger task that's been assigned to me that I've like owned. And so right now that's what we're both working on together, is trying to find a space in the feature that we're building on some part of it that I can own, so that in our next performance cycle, like that I could be considered for that promotion. So is kind of a joint thing that we both had to do together, and fortunate that I have a super supportive manager and that we've had those conversations. And another thing that I wanted to add on the piece of LinkedIn, like being super helpful, and there's so many connections you can make on there. Another thing, like a tip, I guess, that you could use is looking at other people's LinkedIn profiles of like, even if you don't connect with them, just somebody that like, oh, they have a position that I would be potentially interested in, or they have a similar background to me and now they're doing XYZ that I would be interested in. What do they have listed on their profile? Like, what kinds of experiences have listed on there? What have they deemed important enough to put on their LinkedIn as like, here's what I've done, here's the impact I've had. And you can kind of use those as models for your own LinkedIn, because they're where you want to be. So it's a good place to start if you don't know where to start.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are all great. And we all wish you the best in like getting this feature ownership and things like that. We can't wait to hear about that for sure and how that goes. Nicole, any words of, because you are now in a manager position as well. So hearing how you got there and kind of stepped into that with help of, mentors or other managers and things like that. Love to hear that.
Yes. So one piece of advice I always say is consider the source. Always consider the person that is giving you the advice, and don't just listen to it, really let it resonate. Think about what they're saying. Like one of the things that I was told was a lot of times we think that we just put our head down and we just do the work and we will get promoted. But one of the things my mentors told me was you have to tell people what you want. Like you can't assume that people are going to know you want to be promoted to A, or you want to transition over to this area of the business. You have to tell people what you want. And when you do that, start building those relationships. So another thing that has helped me was, even though I may not have transitioned to the management level at one employer, I took the feedback and the wisdom that I got from one employer and applied it to a new employer like I am doing here at Cloudflare. And that's when I got promoted into management here. Another thing is, I don't want to sound bitter, so that's why I'm trying to think of how to say this. I won't say it, never mind. But yeah, consider the source, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that's good to know also, like the advice you get, you're going to carry it throughout. And I think that's really important to know.
And tell people what you want.
Tell people what you want. And I think somebody commented on it with self-advocacy. And this is something I did want to note, because I think it's something, as with women who code, it's something that should be talked about, is it can feel like you're being too much, or you're being too assertive if you're saying like, oh, I want these things. I think especially as a woman in tech or in a male dominated field or anything, especially, you can feel very much like that's not my place to do that. But I know lots of guys that do software development, and I'm not going to generalize, but a lot of them never feel like I shouldn't say that's what I want. So I think that's definitely a good practice and habit to get into, both professionally and personally. So let's see. So the next question we'll go through, kind of building on that. So stepping, if you want to get into a management role and build those skills, how do you kind of ease into that? What sorts of things should you be asking to take on? And Nicole, we can start with you.
Okay. So when I went into management, a lot of people have to realize it's not only about executing on tasks and delivering, it is also about people management. It is also about building a team. It is also about recruiting and identifying talent. So you have to look at the whole picture if you want to become a people manager. So for me, when I joined Cloudflare, my current manager immediately put me in the position to recruit and identify talent, because I am currently building a team from the ground up in the analytics domain. Once I ended up really honing in what that felt like, what that is, and I made my first hire, then I was able to get promoted, and now I'm being coached in other areas, because again, you can't know everything at once. Another piece of advice that I give, and I said this earlier, is I set my team up for their career growth by giving them the tasks for the next level before they get to the next level, so they're not intimidated. One of the analysts I just promoted, I was delegating tasks to him, and he's, jumping on it just to see how he executes, providing feedback and so on. And sure enough, when I promoted him, he was shocked, but at the same, not shocked like he didn't deserve it, but very appreciative for the promotion. But he's still doing the job because he's already been doing it for the past year or so. So one piece of advice I would give is, if like you are an early talent in software engineer, analyst, big data engineer, whatever it is, look at the next level, see the skills that you need, and start working with your manager to take on those additional skills so that you are preparing yourself for the next level in your career.
Absolutely. Akshata, do you have any advice on that front?
I agree with Nicole's assessment again. So to add on to that, I feel like it's very essential to establish yourself in that leadership or the management position first, and then go and ask for a promotion or a title change, because the expectations from a manager, from the management side, is quite different from that of a technical side. Like from my personal experience, like when I was more of a senior engineer on the team, my manager set the expectations for me to go into a tech lead kind of role, where I had to not only manage my work but also be responsible for the other couple of junior team members on the team. So in that role, I was first set the expectations to kind of ease myself into that role, start delivering it in that role, and then eventually the title change happened. So for me, it was more natural, because I was taking on the lead and naturally leading the project, and I was good in communication skills and planning the project well. So it was a natural transition, more of an organic transition for me. And then it was much more easier from my manager's perspective. It was easier for her to go forward with the case to the executive level and say that, hey, this is we have this engineer who has been in the technical role for past 6 months, and this is what she has accomplished in that particular management role. So it's a natural move for us to give her the title change and something of that sort. And then down the line in my career, when I was more of an architect, so I was not really challenged by the kind of technical work I was doing. So I was always willing to take on more responsibilities. That's when my manager gave me the opportunity to do people management and also look at various other team specific metrics, like whether it's the engineering team velocity, or whether it is not only the project planning, but also kind of looking at all the recruitment and the company expansion and things like that. So that was something which I kind of got to do as well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. Tessa, I know you're not in a management position yet, but I guess, is there anything you'd like to add?
I just put it in the chat, but just wanted to like echo that first part of what you just said, of like helping your manager help you, and kind of ties back into what we were talking about earlier, of like that has to start with communicating what you want in the first place. But yeah, definitely like helping your manager help you get to where you want, and like, this is how I want to be sold at the leadership level to help me get to the next place.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next and final question before we start Q&A, it's one that resonates with me for sure. It's, it's very overwhelming when you're thinking about what your life's going to look like in 5 to 10 years, or when people ask you that. I hate when people ask that. But I guess when you don't really know, or you're trying to figure out what you want out of your career, what have you done to kind of develop that career path? And we'll start with Tessa.
That is a great question, and also something I'm thinking about a lot recently, of like, what do I want to do? And I think right now I'm happy like where I am, like with my current job. Like, I don't know if I always want to be a software engineer, but I know that what I'm doing right now, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm learning a lot. I like the people that I work with and the products that I work on. And I think as long as I'm like checking in with myself every few months on like, am I still happy doing what I'm doing? And do I still feel like I'm growing and learning? That's kind of what I settled on currently, of like how I know what I want to do. And I'm trying not to stress about thinking too far in the future, but would love advice from more people on what they've done as well, because it's something I'm thinking about a lot too.
I learned not to plan 5 to 10 years in advance after I got married. And let me tell you why. Because when I graduated from college, I had my whole life planned out. Then I met my husband, and 10 months later, we got married. So that just completely blew my plan up. And then we had my daughter. So, and I wouldn't change that for anything in the world. But my point is, we're in the tech sector or whatever area of life or whatever sector you work in. Always continue to learn, always continue to grow, but don't put yourself in a box where you have to continue just to walk this very narrow path because it aligns with everything that you've planned within the next 5 to 10 years. You want to be able to be in a situation where you can adjust. Naturally, you want to have a plan because the bills have to be paid, but not to the point where it's 5 years down the line, I have to be here, 10 years down the line, I have to be here, because that's where disappointment comes. But if you're in a position where you're always learning, always adjusting, and allowing that fluidness to impact you, that's okay, because we don't know everything all the time. I'm 47 years old, so I do know within 10 years, I'm preparing for retirement. Like, I'm not going to be working forever because I want to do philanthropy work at some point in my life. But I'm older. Tessa, live your life, learn, enjoy life, and adjust as you go on. But make sure you're always learning.
Yep, I totally agree with Nicole's sentiments here. I echo that. So I've been in the same position, because when I started my career, I had everything, like all the opportunities where I really, really focused on career. And then I got married, I had a kid. So things change, priorities change. So also just make sure that you give good amount of time and space for your own well-being, time for your personal commitments, like your family, your friends, your neighbors, everything. Like, you have to have that good time management skills, and you have to compartmentalize everything. You need time for yourself where you're just me time, no family, no friends, nothing, just chill out, do whatever you like. And then the other end of the spectrum, after work, like, you have a lot of things to do for your family. You are committed as a mother, you are committed as a woman. So give that time and space for your family. That's very essential as well. So yeah, but again, like as Nicole said, don't ever forget to live your life, do what you want to do, and always try to keep learning and never give up on that. So that's essential. And again, like Nicole said, like, it's very difficult to plan ahead and disappointments will be inevitable. So right now, Tessa, you are at that age where you can afford to kind of chase your dreams and be really focused and be at a place where you want to. And then down the line, like when you have your own family and kids, things will change. So be prepared for that, mentally prepared for that. So, yep.
Absolutely. I think it's also important to, when those things do change, make sure that you're still like being kind to yourself and not beating yourself up about those changes because you had this vision of what, you know, you wanted to do or anything like that. Because I think that could just make it 20 times harder.
Totally.
No, I've never been happier. No, I love the decision that I made, like meeting my husband, having my daughter. I couldn't imagine life without them. So.
Right. Yeah. And again, like, there shouldn't be any regrets down the line. So if you want to pursue a master's degree or a PhD degree or something of that sort, which you have always been dreamt, make conscious efforts towards that. So don't give up on it.
Yeah. I got my master's when my daughter was 4 and my husband was deployed, because I'm an Army wife. So nothing is impossible.
Yep. We could still do it, and so could you.
That sounds tough, but as you can see, you could do it.
Yeah, and I worked full time.
Oh my gosh. Well, wow.
I recently started my research. I am a PhD student at George Mason University.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
So I have a very, very, like, somebody at my office was asking me, like, which is more challenging? Is it the 9-to-5 job at Quorum, the new job at Quorum, or your PhD work? And my answer was neither. The only biggest challenge in my life is my 10-year-old son. And all this COVID and him learning remote and not actually learning anything. Oh yeah. Yep,
That's the full-time job.
Absolutely. That is. Okay, I guess we're on to the Q&A stuff. So if you have any questions, I saw some come through. Okay, first question. What is the best way to handle career gaps, such as when leaving your job to take personal time during COVID or freelancing when applying to new jobs? I can answer this as somebody that looks at people's resumes with career gaps a lot. If you just tell the story of like what you were doing, like make yourself a person about it and just make a note of like what was happening in that time. I guarantee you, unless somebody's really like very, I want to say narrow-minded about it, if you can tell the story about it, it'll be fine. Yeah,
my policy would be honesty, being honest and just having that one-on-one conversation as to why there was a gap and explaining what you did. So should be okay.
Okay. Let's see. When applying for jobs, how required and important is having a headshot profile picture or attached to resume? Seems like all the job sites have a spot for it now.
I did not know about this, honestly.
Yeah, me either. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Akshata. Yeah. I've never put my picture on my resume.
Me neither, Nicole. So I don't know either. Anybody else can jump in here, please?
No, I haven't seen it. So I guess not that important is to answer your question.
Yeah. Unless you're maybe like in Europe or a different country, but I haven't that in the US.
Yeah, not in the US. Okay, next question. Is it reasonable to apply to jobs where you don't have the exact language experience if you have general experience 2+ years with other languages?
By languages, do you mean programming languages?
I'm gonna assume that's what they mean.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Basically, at least from my perspective as a hiring manager, we always look for problem-solving skills. The programming language itself doesn't matter. Like I'm given, like right now, like most of the firms which I interviewed for in the last year, they all had their coding pad or some interview kind of tools where they kind of just post the problem and it would be your choice of language. Like either you can use C, C++, Python, Java, whichever you are comfortable in. And then you basically, we are looking for that problem solving skills on how you kind of think through the use cases, the problem, how efficient your solution is with respect to space and time complexities. And as long as you do the actual coding and be able to, in a very satisfactorily way, explain it to your interviewer on your thought process, that should be it. So I don't think programming language itself would be a barrier.
I echo that, because I know, like from an analytics perspective, when you're working, determining like strong SQL skills are needed, Python skills are needed, R skills are needed, but data visualization skills are needed. I'm not necessarily married to the tool, but more so the fundamental skill set. So just to say you have SQL skills, we use Google BigQuery at Cloudflare, but suppose you worked on AWS or Hive, SQL skills are transferable. You know, functions are syntax, those types of things. You can get ramped up on that. The same thing with data visualization skills. We use Tableau, but if you come from Power BI or ClickView or something like that, you could be ramped up on the tool, but the fundamental skills are there. So I echo Akshata that we're more about critical thinking and problem solving, and you can ramp up on the actual tools or languages that we use in-house. Yeah. And that's a growth opportunity for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree that like is definitely the way it should be. Like if you can show that you do have some experience and that you can grow and learn, that the actual language shouldn't be that much of a barrier. But I think it also depends on the job position and what the team is looking for and how fast they want someone to get ramped up. Like I've talked to even different hiring managers within Microsoft, and some of them are definitely on the side of like, we just want somebody to be able to grow into this role, and they can pick up the technical pieces that they need to, but we're really assessing more for like culture fit, and past experiences can show that they're technical enough to grow. But there's also been times, like even on my own team, where we just needed someone that was really set on TypeScript and React and could get ramped up on our technologies really quickly. So we were looking for someone that did have a little bit more experience. But I think something that I heard someone say once that has like really stuck with me is to not disqualify yourself by not even applying. Like, let the hiring manager or recruiter determine if you're qualified or not. Like, the only thing you'll be losing really is like the time you spent to create that application. So let them decide based on your resume if you're qualified or not to go on to the next part of the interview process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say too, like the other part of that is I think as you get more senior, it may get a little bit more narrow where it's like, okay, we need you to come in and be able to hit the ground running on these, items.
Exactly.
But when you're at the 1 to 2 years experience mark, from what I've heard from hiring manager and experience on those things, like it really are those soft skills that people are looking for. So I think that's a great one. And then I think kind of like what Nicole said too, figuring out what the alternative technologies that are very similar to what you've been doing, really like educating yourself on that. So then you have more things that you feel confident about applying for is pretty good.
Yeah. So Mel, there was one more question which I kind of answered by typing it out.
Yeah, I see
was
this.
similar to what Tessa just spoke about. Like when it comes to like hiring managers, hiring people, they might need 100% of the match on the skills. I have seen both ends of the spectrum, where some companies I applied for, they were hell-bent on having very, very required and stringent requirements, and where I got rejected. And there were other side of the spectrum where the interviewers were more forthcoming, and they were kind of okay, like if I was able to satisfactorily explain, like one particular position asked me if I had good enough of AWS skills. I told, like, within my previous company, I did not do a lot of AWS because we had our own customized CI/CD pipeline, and we did not do a lot of AWS. But again, that did not stop me from going ahead, taking some courses on Coursera or LinkedIn, to learn about AWS, and then upgrade myself with those skills. So this is what they are kind of looking for. Like, they're okay if you're willing to put in those extra hours, learn those new skills, and ramp up yourself. They should still give you a shot at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I just saw one more question come through. Okay, hold on. You tell the story with it. Yep, absolutely agree. It's a superpower. Okay, I don't think there's any more questions. Unless there are, feel free to drop it in. But I think we're wrapping.
One more popped up in the Q&A from Susie.
Susie, yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't see that one. I'm afraid of applying to jobs that where I may have 80-20 experience, but the job description is 3 people's worth of work and includes the phrase and other duties as assigned. It's very annoying. I agree. Have any of you applied for jobs like this and found that it was satisfying after all and not overbearing because you never have the satisfaction of being able to finish projects because of too much work? Do you advise to steer clear of these? I'm interested in new roles with a work-life balance. Some companies are transparent and share that they are committed to work-life balance, but many don't mention it.
That's a packed question.
A lot of question. I think it goes back to advocating for yourself. Like in the interview, if you're interviewing, I think you're well within your right to ask about work-life balance and what you're evaluated on and what expectations are in the job. That'll probably tell you a lot, but that's my
right. Like when I was a hiring manager, like a lot of my the candidates who I interviewed, they usually had that question on work-life balance and how we go about achieving it. So I did mention them, like within the spectrum of our engineering department, the engineering managers will be working closely with them to set the expectations and make sure they're, taking time off, making sure they're not overworking or they're not too overwhelmed. We always make sure that our team members are taking good amount of days off in a year for vacations and things like that, and they're not burning or stretching themselves. And people need to ask for help if they're stuck on something and they're just putting in too much hours of fruitless amount of time. where they're not accomplishing anything. They just have to reach out and say that, hey, I'm stuck at this, who can help me out? And we make sure that they are given enough support to kind of unblock them and move forward. So yeah, like we have taken specific steps within the company as a company to make sure all our engineers are, having a good work-life balance.
And I think to go back to the question as well, that what they're asking on like the and other duties, like ask those questions like, what does a day look like at this particular org or whatever? That's a common question that I get all the time. And Cloudflare is a growing company. The BI team is a growing team. So I'm completely transparent that the leadership, we really try our best to build a framework that your work is, aligned and understood, and you know exactly what you're supposed to focus on. However, we may get additional requests because, we're the data team. The business users need data in order to make decisions. But you have to be, from a hiring manager perspective, transparent about that. Now, have I ever joined a company and then ended up being satisfied with it? Because that was another part of the question. I'm the type of person personally that gets bored easily. So I like to work in an evolving and challenging and fast-paced environment, but I know that's not for everyone. And if you know that's not for you, then I would recommend not pursuing something like that. But I would not recommend you not apply for the position until you actually have a conversation with them. Like, don't disqualify yourself. At least have the conversation.
Completely agree. And I know we have one more question, it looks like. So this will be the last one before we wrap up, just so I can make sure that, she's just asking us to make this last. Okay, perfect. So this will be the last question. When in a senior engineer and tech lead role, might be times when you're not coding as much as before. How do you, I guess, like deal with that and like settle into the new normal of that?
I can take this question. So basically, when you're going into a technical lead role, you are expected to kind of oversee a lot of things. There are four major. So I was pretty much inspired by Camille Fournier. So there was one book by her called like The Manager's Career Path. Let me see if I have it. Yeah, The Manager's Path, a guide for tech leaders navigating. Can you guys see it? I think I have my virtual background is kind
now
of.
Now it's the Zoom. Yeah, it's.
Okay. No. Okay, that's fine. It's called The Manager's Path by O'Reilly, a guide for tech leaders navigating growth and change. It's by Camille Fournier. So this book kind of gives great advice on how to bridge the gap when you're going from an individual contributor to a technical lead role. So as per my prior experience too, there are four major aspects to it. So in a tech lead role, you'll be wearing the hat of a developer. You are still expected to do code, maybe not 100% of your time, maybe 50% of your time. The second thing is you will be the main project planner, where you'll be creating the task for the rest of the team members who you are taking the leadership on the project. And the third role will be more of like a business analyst. So you'll also be collaborating with the business analyst to kind of understand what the project is all about. How do you go about breaking down the task and how you are going to contribute towards it. So yeah, these are some of the things that will come into play. And at first it will be kind of little jarring because you are expected to do a lot of other things rather than just coding. So it might take a little bit of time to get adjusted and get settled there. But over the period of time, you will get better at it. It's more of a learning curve. So.
Perfect. Anyone want to add anything before we say our goodbyes on that one? Nope. All righty. Well, we have finished up. Thank you everyone for coming and listening to us talk for an hour and asking questions. So I'm sure we'll have another one of these coming up. I know we've got some other events Elizabeth can, disperse on LinkedIn graphics about the upcoming events, as well as all the Women Who Code ones that Sierra mentioned earlier. But thank you. And if you need to reach out to us, I believe our LinkedIns are in the chats. Bye.
Thank you all so much for coming, and we hope to see you at future Women Who Code mobile events.
Yes. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.